Well, 'tis the season for the holiday horror stories. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so this Hasina on the podcast again. I love when Hasina gets to be on the podcast. She got, shall I say, dragged on the podcast.
Yeah, kicking and screaming.
So today we're going to talk about holiday haunted homes, the horror homes of real estate. And I got to just tell you, I've been doing real estate for 18 years. How long you, Hasina? How long have you?
7 years.
7 years.
Yeah.
And so we started just kind of chatting out there like, oh, well, what are some great haunted stories? And all of a sudden, imagine that, we came up with ideas just like that. So I'll go back. I'll get us kicked off and started.
Okay.
So this is probably back in 2009, maybe 2010, when we had tons of bank-owned properties, and I was out showing properties. Oh, okay, this one. But we're just not going to tell you where the houses are. We're not going to tell you who the clients are. We're not going to give the addresses, and we're not going to tell you the agents involved, just so you know, because, well, it's just the professional thing to do.
Right. Right.
So it was late in the fall, and I shot down the freeway to go show one of the very first homes. Probably I'd only been, this is maybe a year or 2 years into the business.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went out. I got called out. It was a late fall night.
Oh.
And it was cold, and it was not in the best of neighborhoods.
Wow.
We won't say where.
Yeah.
And I pulled up, and it was a complete stranger who called for the showing of this property.
Wow, Lori, you're brave.
I know, but it's in our business, right? We
Right.
show up
Absolutely.
for complete strangers who contact us off the internet, and they go, oh, I would love to see a house. And it is our job to show houses.
Yes.
And so I arrived upon the scene, and as I got there, well, the house was not pretty looking. Okay. I'm just going to say, not a great neighborhood. It was now dark, and it wasn't pretty looking.
Yeah.
And of course, we have to search for the lockbox because
Oh, boy.
we know agents just never, ever put lockboxes in reasonable places.
Yeah.
It just doesn't seem to be the fair and obvious thing to do in our business.
Well, I think the idea is to hide it away from sight, right?
Right. It is. It is. Right. So I get to this property and I'm like, okay, great. I'm going to open it up. So I open the door, and guess what? The lights don't come on.
Oh.
Someone forgot to tell the seller, hey, seller tip, keep the utilities on while you're selling real estate.
Exactly.
Lights don't come on. It's a disaster area. It's dark. And I'm there with no flashlight
Oh, boy.
because I'm still, as you would say, a green real estate agent. Is that what they
Yeah.
are when
Yep.
you're new?
Yep.
I'm still a green real estate agent, so I didn't think to have a flashlight or anything like that with me. And it may have even been before flashlights were on phones. I mean,
Yeah, it sounds like maybe.
that's just the reality of where we were back then. Whew, am I dating myself? So this person shows up, and it's a him, and he wants to see the house. And I was like, hey, Mr. Him, the door's open. Go at it. I'm not going in.
That's the best way to do it.
And I didn't. I let him go in and see that house. So what did I learn? 1, always check to make sure the utilities are on. 2, always have a flashlight, mag light with you.
For sure.
I always do. And then I make sure I vet whoever I'm going to show the property to.
100%.
Because you just never know what's going to happen in holiday real estate horror stories. So what do you got, Hasina? Tell us one of
Ooh,
yours.
I got a good one.
Let's hear it.
So like we said, we're not going to say cities
right.
and stuff like that, right? I did an open house. I love open houses. Like if anybody who knows me knows that. And I set up my open house as usual. Turn on all the lights. Of course, we want it nice and bright. It was during the day, in the afternoon.
At least you have light.
Yes. So I go upstairs, turn on all the lights, and as I turn around in one of the bedrooms, I see that it's red, like blood red.
Uh-oh.
I'm not thinking too much. I'm thinking, oh, that's interesting that it looks like the wall's dripping.
This is like probably back in the day when those red walls were so popular. Do you remember that?
No, I think it was like probably 5 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nope, red walls weren't popular anymore.
So I didn't think too much of it. I went about my business, went downstairs and greeted people. First couple of guests, no incident. By my third guest, I just hear this screeching scream from upstairs.
Uh-oh.
And if you all know me, I'm a scaredy cat.
It's a 2-story home.
2-story home,
Okay.
yeah. And I run up the stairs because I'm thinking, worst case scenario, somebody tripped and fell,
Right,
maybe.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I go in there, and the lady got out her rosary, and she's praying to that same wall
Oh my goodness.
that I saw dripping, and it
Yes.
was now completely red.
Wow.
Like the whole wall looked like somebody had just taken a paintbrush and just splashed blood all over it.
And it didn't look like that when you had gone there?
Not that no. The only thing I saw was like the dripping. You know, when something's dripping, it kind of looks like smudgy.
Yeah.
So that's what I saw. But when I went back, it was like somebody had actually gone over it with a paintbrush.
Wow.
So right away, I got the lady out of the house because she wanted to get out of the house, locked it up, called the agent that I was doing it for, the open house.
Yes.
She came cruising over and she was like, we're shutting this down. So we shut down the open house. She called the owner, and we had known that there was a death in the house.
Yes.
And I don't know if I can say this, but it was not natural causes.
Oh.
So yeah, so basically they actually ended up pulling the listing. So I don't know what happened in the end, but that was the horror story.
Never sold, right?
Yeah.
So, hey, by the way, someone dies in the house. Need to disclose it within the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Gotta disclose it. Because if you don't, the neighbors will. So disclose it. Natural causes or not, you need to disclose. For sure. So I'll add, Aim and I were doing an open house. This one was local. And it was another nice, beautiful fall day. It was a bit chilly. It was a little later in the day. And someone had passed away in the house as well.
Oh.
So Aim and I were, the kid had inherited the house, and so it was selling it. So Aim and I were going through the house, and again, another dark house, sellers. Make sure your house is bright and cheery.
Yeah.
This is, again, another dark house, low ceilings, not all the rooms have lights in them. It's kind of like a little eerie, to be completely honest. And a sad energy came from the house.
I was going to ask that. Did you feel anything?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Amy and I are very cheery people.
Yes, for sure.
And there was a sad energy in this house.
Oh, gosh.
So a lady and a man happened to walk in to check in for the open house.
Mm-hmm.
And so they came in, and we walked them through the property, and we showed them the property. And we had yet to say whether or not someone had passed in the property. And I went outside, and Aim followed behind me. And then the couple came behind us, and the lady came right up to me. She got right in my face, and she said, "Lori Alvarez, did someone die in this house?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, by the way, the family member did pass away."
Yeah.
the mother passed away in the house. I said, it was natural causes. She goes, oh, yeah. So I felt her. She came up to me and she touched me.
Oh, my gosh.
And she's not evil. She's not a bad spirit. But she is still in this house, protecting it.
Good God.
Amy and I, for sure.
I would have been gone from that house, just telling you now.
Amy and I, for sure, were like, oh, thank you for sharing that.
Did you stay and finish the open house?
We finished, and we locked up, and we sold that baby right away. And of course, yes, it was disclosed.
Yeah.
But what an interesting story, right?
For sure.
This
Yeah.
woman just felt her presence. She said she wasn't an evil spirit. She
Which was
said she
good.
wasn't, you know,
Yeah.
an angry spirit, but she was still in the house.
Wow.
Could you imagine?
I wonder. I'd like to go see that house today. See what happened.
It's local.
Can we visit?
Oh, it's a nice family living in it now, and
Okay.
I'm sure they've prayed their own prayers over it.
Absolutely.
And
for sure.
sanctified the house as well.
Yeah.
So what else do you have, Hasina?
I don't have any more horror stories.
Uh-huh.
But like I said to you, my only other thing was like, my only horror story was my bathroom.
Oh, yes.
When I bought my brand new house, it wasn't, we hadn't used it to bath in. We just put like some water.
Uh-huh.
And we didn't realize there was a construction defect.
Uh-huh.
And so, thank God we didn't fill the tub. So the ceiling started to leak.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So that was our horror story. But we were put up in a hotel, so I don't know if it's actually a horror story.
The bubble bath went bad. It overflowed.
For sure.
And down came the tub.
Yep. Yep.
So I have another horror story. This was probably back in 2009, 2010. Another late night in the fall showing a home.
Gee, Lori, no more showing houses in the fall for you.
I know.
Just send Amy or I.
So this is with one of my excellent clients, and they actually just relocated out of the area. I love them. I've helped them buy and sell 3 times.
That's awesome.
And so this particular home, we again won't disclose, but it was another very dark house. Mm-hmm. Another one, the lights were not on, vacant, set in the back of a hill.
Ooh,
When you went up to it, you
scenery.
had to like go up a long, steep drive. Okay. So we get up to the drive and I open the doors. Okay. And as I'm opening the front door, my client is standing next to me. We open the door and I, of course, reach my hand in and I'm searching for the light switch.
Yeah.
You know, and of course, well, I did have my mag light this time.
Uh-huh.
So I flash my mag light up on the wall, and all we see is these very, very dark, satanic-like paintings on the wall.
What?
Yes. And I was like, oh my goodness. And similar to your red wall, right? Red paintings with all of these satanic images on the wall. And my client, she just stepped in the house and she looked up and she looked around and she said, no, let's go.
Yeah.
And we stepped right on out and we locked it as quickly as we could.
Oh my gosh.
And that was the end of that night
Yeah.
of showing homes
For sure.
in a late fall evening.
Wow. Nope. No.
Not to discourage you of, going out in those late fall evening showings.
Yeah.
But this is back again, everyone talks about, the market's going to crash, the market's going to crash.
Yeah.
They don't understand what that really means. The market, when it crashed, it was dark, it was sad, it was heavy.
Yes, for sure.
And a lot of homes were just in disrepair like that.
Yeah.
And heavy hearts in these homes.
Yeah, very, very like a morbid feel, right?
Right. To go to another story where it wasn't really, it was a horror story, it was more of a sad story, though.
Mm-hmm.
As again, the same family took them out and they were looking for their home. And it was another dark home. It was one of the first clients I ever helped. And we walked in the door. And I can hear far in the back, the husband and wife had let us in. They hadn't left. They were still there. The whole family was still there.
Mm.
And so we're going room by room. And you know the client, the seller who never turns the lights on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an evening showing. And you're like, can we turn the lights on? I really like to highlight your house, not dwell on it.
Yeah.
And then we had down the hall to go in to enter the young girl's room.
Mm-hmm.
She's 7 or so. And she holds on her door, holds it, wouldn't allow us in. And she just screams, "Don't take my home from me."
Oh, gosh.
It was a foreclosure situation.
Oh,
Talk about a holiday
that's
horror
heart-wrenching.
story. So sad.
Yeah.
And people say, "Oh,
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the crash." Don't wish that upon our economy.
Yeah. Or anybody for that matter.
Yes.
For people in that situation.
Don't pray for that. Don't speak it into our world. Don't affirm that it's coming.
Yes, for sure.
Then I go into another house, different client, bank-owned home.
Uh-huh.
Whew. We get there, another dark evening.
Oh, my gosh.
I tell you, I work. I'm a worker. Another dark evening, and we get there and we open it up, and again, more utilities don't turn on.
Mm-hmm.
So no lights. Open the door, and whew, the stench that came out. I said, as I looked at the gentleman that wanted to see the house,
Yeah.
"Go right on in. I am not going in there." Because I knew there was something dead in that house. And it wasn't anything I wanted to see or be around at all.
Yeah. Was the house, like, were the windows and doors all intact?
It was a disaster area.
Okay.
And like a possum or a cat had died in there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's scary. The funny thing is, though, with all these stories, none of
Yes.
these houses are brand new houses.
None of
Not
them
ready.
are. None of
So
them
go buy a
are.
brand new construction.
Right? New construction.
Because I don't think new houses are haunted. They have no history.
My well, I can't say who, but a person that I trust, she told me she moved into her home, 2-story home, and she said, "I think there's a spirit in my house."
Was it a new construction?
No.
Oh, okay.
See, Hasina has affirmed again. Let's go buy new construction.
Brand new construction. Yep.
So my girlfriend said she was in her bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
She could just feel a spirit, something.
Mm.
And so she said, late in the middle of the night, she got up and she checked. And across the staircase, she saw the reflection of a young girl. So she Googled her address. And a young girl had died in that house many, many years before.
Wow.
Not something that had to be disclosed because it had happened many, many years before. And she felt and saw the spirit of that young girl.
Did she keep the house or did you get to sell it?
Oh, no, she still lives in it and loves it.
Oh, okay.
She's very sensitive to spirits.
Okay.
She's very sensitive to things that touch her Holy Spirit, we like to say.
Okay.
Things that speak to her.
Mm-hmm.
she's aware of it. She feels it, and she always shares it forward too.
Yeah.
Always, always. Have you been to the Queen Mary in Long Beach?
Not yet.
Have you stayed on it?
No, not yet.
Oh, you should.
Have you?
I have.
Okay, so what was your experience?
Oh, so interesting. So, great places to travel for haunted experiences. The Queen Mary every year does Halloween events as well. And so my husband, he was bound determined to allow for me to stay on the Queen Mary overnight with him when I was like 8 months pregnant.
Oh, gosh.
And we were pregnant with our youngest, Nevin,
Uh-huh.
who is now 18.
Yeah.
And anyways, we went through that submarine, right? We went through that submarine. Could you imagine me 8 months pregnant, as big as I am, almost 6 foot,
Yeah.
with a big old baby in your belly, trying to get through all those little submarine passages, and then making our way to the Queen Mary.
Uh-huh.
And as we get to the Queen Mary, we spent the night.
Oh, boy.
Now, my sons will affirm, won't you, sons? Mommy is a big scaredy cat. I do not like spooky things.
Yeah.
And so they say, the story, it says, right? The gray ghost, the Queen Mary serves up chills in the form of screams from a decapitated sailor
Gosh.
who in the boiler room envisions of a lady in white roaming the halls. Visitors can choose from a handful of haunted tours or book a stay in stateroom B340 for overnight thrills. Now, I don't know if that's the room I stayed in. I just know that I spent the night there, and I just know that I didn't sleep at all that
I was
night.
gonna say. Did you experience anything?
I think that I experienced my own nerves.
Yeah. The fear kicked in, right?
It did.
Okay.
It did. Just like when you pull up to a house and you go, this one doesn't feel good.
Absolutely.
Right? It doesn't feel good. Another great location, we'll end here, is the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel in LA. Did you know about that one?
I've heard of it, but I'm not a big Halloween fan, by the way.
Neither am I. I like
So-
to keep it. I like to keep it cheery.
Yes.
All those scary things come out in the theaters, and I am like negative.
Me too.
So they say to stay at the swanky hotel for a chance to glimpse one of the most glamorous ghosts of all time. It's said that Marilyn Monroe herself still haunts the halls. Guests have also reported mysterious trumpet music believed to be the spirit of Montgomery Clift, who liked to practice in Suite 928.
Oh, boy.
I need to go visit the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel.
Maybe that should be a team event?
I think so, right? I think so. I will tell you this. When you go out and you sense a spirit, you sense something, trust it.
Yeah.
Trust who you are. Believe in what you sense. Because something's speaking to you. And then turn it into a better story than a horror story.
I know, right?
100%. And sellers, cheer up your homes, turn on your lights, and make it fresh and bright. Because we don't want any more Halloween horror
Horrors.
haunted houses.
Exactly. No horror stories this Halloween.
No way.